Hi everyone, my name's Sean and welcome to the channel. I'm doing a channeling today from Ka on what is the purpose of a Lightworker. I don't know what happened, but I was driving and I just had this pressure, this deep pressure to channel this. And it's interesting because this isn't a question I really care about too much personally. I felt like I knew. But at the same time, when that pressure and that feeling, that urgency comes in, then I tend to just go with it, because what else am I going to do? I tend to find if I ignore it, then it just kind of persists and it'll push on me. So without further ado, I'll get into the channeling, and then, if I have some insights after, I may offer those. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. And if you do, please consider sharing with anyone who resonates with this type of concept or this type of content. Really helps out the channel. It also helps out me and Ka get our, combined partnered message out to the world. And we really appreciate it. So very grateful for you showing up and for listening, and I hope it resonates. We are the principle of Ka, and we greet you in the light and love of the one infinite creator. We hear your query on purpose of what you term a lightworker, and will endeavor to offer our sixth density distortions upon this concept. We ask humbly that each who may read or hear these words know that we seek only to offer that which we have found as truth in our seeking. We are but humble messengers of our vibration of the law of one, and with love we offer this service freely to your peoples. Discern always for yourself that which resonates as truth, and discard that which does not. In this way we may speak freely of generalities and philosophy in harmony with our position as emissaries of the law of one, without concern in abridging free will and violating the law of confusion. In our observation of the human, we have come to see the deep need of the mind to apply labels, the conceptual structures of boxes in which entities may be placed within, to provide a false sense of understanding. We remind the instrument that this density of the instrument enjoys, the dance of polarity within, is not one of understanding. No concept, no being, no thought may be understood from the third density perspective behind the mind-body-spirit complex's veiling of self to other selves. The illusion of duality ensures that the player of this game is always, to some degree, blind. Therefore, we stress the importance to this instrument that all labeling is limitation of self or projected limitation of other self. You are the light, you are the love, you are. In you exists darkness too. For what is darkness but a simple way to notice a differing and lower intensity of the light? Each moment offers a varying cacophony of stimuli which vibrates a resonance within the being, offering a perspective upon the light and a perspective upon the dark. Therefore we quibble with the terms of your peoples, which endeavor to persist in identifying the other-than characteristics of darkness. In our greatest understanding, the framing of a worker of the light implies a lack of darkness, and distorts the self into a state of separation or challenge of accepting the darkness that exists within each. With this expressed, we may elucidate upon the concept of working the light for the harmony of all, which is what we believe is the major thrust of the query. The one who works with the light is simply one who has remembered a snippet of their deeper and truer self. They have begun, and we stress begun, to recall their Akash and their infinite power they hold in love. They may work in all manner of ways, and as the frequencies raise and the new waves of what you call children are born, entirely new ways of working with the light will be brought in. We offer the example of what your peoples have termed the white magician, which resonates as an identity of the Melchizedek order from under which the instrument has studied in past experiences upon other planes of space and time. This entity will use the form-making principles of the Indigo Energy Center to direct intelligent infinity to raise the planetary vibration. They may or may not teach learn, but simply by being and holding a unity frequency of consciousness, often considered the Christ consciousness, they become an avatar of the One, a divinely appointed representative of the infinite creator. When balanced, they may be likened to an ascended master in form, and may find these masters approach and guide them when their heart-directed missions resonate in harmony with the vibrations of consciousness in the inner planes of your planetary entity. However, as the Akash grows and expands, the inner planes of other cosmic entities which offer their services and love and wisdom become accessible to those with vibrations that match what one may call the hue of frequency of the mind-body-spirit complex upon the earth. It is for this reason that the offerings and services of mind-body-spirit complexes upon the earth may take any infinite form of expression. Your peoples are experiencing the influx of the expanded light matrices, brought and anchored by what some may term gridworkers. These gridworkers act as beacons and light anchors, wanderers from distant planes, which bring distinctly non-human frequencies, and hold this. In this way, the planetary web of consciousness holds more, and more, always expanding, always changing, and always bringing about expressions of the infinite creator in love and harmony with all. Thus, we may simplify the query and suggest that more than half of the souls present now in your illusion are not of this sphere. The influx of wisdom is only just beginning to infiltrate many of the darker paradigms within which your peoples have chosen to enslave themselves. When these souls are expressing themselves in authentic demonstrations of their vast love, the light work is done. Each has a role, each has a part, each has a unique journey of remembrance of their truer self and the shedding of the false identity. The general goal of all lightworkers or old souls upon the planet now is to assist in the expansion of the harvest. This is done by being the way, demonstrating the love and peace of the Creator, opening the heart to all. To all, love is freely given. To all, truth is the fiery breath of divinity itself, which burns away the falsity of fear. It is the goal of the entity with such ambitions to be the face of divinity itself, to be the everlasting peace and love in form, to know the self, to love the self, to expand this love to all other selves, knowing deep within that all are one, that all distortions of this are but distortions of the one law. This is the law of one. We are grateful as always to communicate with you. Be merry and be at peace. Go forth with the Creator, holding hands as equals, and demonstrating for all the unequivocal power of unconditional love and peace. And so it is. So I really like this one a lot because I've always had a sort of issue with that term lightworker. And when I first heard it, I was like, oh my God, that's me. And, I went through a lot of like identity with that and sort of attaching myself to this concept. And what I noticed though is that when we frame ourselves in these boxes, and Ka alludes to this a lot, and I'm really glad that they do, because when we frame ourselves in all of these different boxes and these different definitions of self or other self, what we end up doing is basically saying that I am of the light, and in the moments that I perhaps have a darkness or I'm confused or something like that, I no longer accept that part of myself because I'm of the light. I'm a light worker. So when I'm in my darkness and when I'm rude to people or when I've become upset and I'm mean to myself or something internally, that's not okay. It's not okay for me to feel these ways. It ends up being sort of it impedes our ability to accept ourselves when we put all these labels on ourselves. So if you think of it this way, we are all God, right? And God in form, expressions of God. And when we apply any label to us, such as I'm smart, I'm compassionate, or I'm dumb, or whatever it is, we're labeling God itself. We're saying that divinity is this, divinity is this. And the I am is unexpressible in any word or any identity. The face of the faces of God, the faces of Creator, are infinitely complex and perplexing in this sort of illusion. This is why we have all the various forms of God and how humans have perceived in sort of dogmatic type of ways how to commune with God. And, so essentially, I think the whole point of the channeling is really the goal of the Lightworker is to realize themselves, self-actualization, to remember themselves, to start to recall these like beautiful, harmonious ways of expressing themselves. They may have past life experience on other planets or here or wherever, where they've done certain types of things to bring love to others. And it can be things like writing songs or whatever it is. And I've talked about this a few times on the channel, but really what they do, and even Ka said, I think that just by being here, they're anchoring frequencies. These souls, these old souls that are just here, the human itself could be totally confused and have no concept of any of this. And they're still here holding these beautiful frequencies that mix into this, what they call the planetary web of consciousness. And this is one of the reasons that it's so important to like be able to observe others with love. Like how the human is acting isn't so much a representation of themselves, right? It's not just as your human expression is not always a true representation of yourself. Most people, they're not representing themselves in a true, authentic way. They're not even aware that they're not doing that, right? And so it becomes really important for us to hold compassion and just peace and understand that everyone's sort of on their path, that we're on our path. We may have some really funky ideas coming in as far as how we can serve. Really funky stuff. Like there are so many different expressions of how somebody works with the light. And so a lot of people start to think of shamanism or mysticism, witchcraft, magic, of various things. And that happens to be the way that I sort of interact with this type of thing. And they mentioned that I sort of have taken on the role of a white magician. I call myself a wizard. That's pretty weird, right? Like when I was growing up, I was like, wizards are amazing. And I was like obsessed with wizards. And it sort of makes sense now, right? Why I resonated so much with the whole concept. It's because that's what I've been a bunch of different times. And I get little glimpses of rememberings. And I guess that's why I'm sharing that is we get these little glimpses of understandings around what we've done in the past, what feels like we might be inclined to do this time. And so we're going to have people that are bringing in like really weird quantum or multi-dimensional technologies that we could call them technologies, or using pyramids in funny ways, or just setting up, I've seen people set up these crystal grids and you can sort of feel like an aura on those. And I'm like, well, I don't know how they're doing that, right? Personally, I have no concept of what they're doing. And that's sort of the point, is that everyone has a unique expression, and a lot of these souls are coming from places that we don't even have names for. So you can imagine that the ways that they come in and bring this anchoring technique, or this magic technique, these ways of working with the light, is just wacky. And I actually also believe that some people have chosen to express their light work as a sort of almost colder type of truth delivery. You'll see some people that are just very indifferent to how others are, or how they receive their words, and they just say stuff that's, if you really look into it, they are saying the truth, but they're just saying it in a very abrasive or cold sort of way. And even those people are, I think, light workers. If they're offering truth, it's truth. So truth is truth, and truth is love. But we can lose the love in some of that. Like, we don't see the love as well, because, our framing as a human is like, love looks like this, right? Compassion looks like this. And that's a very narrow-minded way to look at love, because love is everywhere. And so even in these sort of colder interactions with people that are just, they may seem a little distant, they may seem cold, they may seem, indifferent to any suffering, but they are saying something that is true. And so those people, I think, are also light workers that are maybe just coming from I'm thinking of, what's his name? Is it Spock? I didn't watch Star Trek, but like these analytical type races, perhaps, that are galactic races, whatever, that are not so heart-centered. They don't really understand all the compassion and all that, but they're still truthful and offering love that way. So that's the other thing, is like the expression of light, expression of love is infinitely, vastly complex and different and unique. And so I think the primary message of this is like acceptance, self-acceptance, and trusting in the self, and whatever the unique expression is, whatever the form of the creator sort of working through you as an instrument of creation, is sort of perfect. And to allow that, and then to work with it, and as comfortable, start to express it the same way that I'm doing with this channeling. I started it without really having any idea what it was, how I was doing it, or what to do with it. And I've gotten more and more comfortable and starting to finally release it to the world, because I just felt like I was maybe a fraud or an imposter, or, so even as we develop these gifts that others might look at and go, wow, because most people, when they hear my channeling, they do say very positive things, or they are a little bit wowed by it, right? And I don't say that from an egoic place, but inside I've always been like, well, am I just what is this, right? What am I just making this stuff up? And I know now that I'm not, but there's that resistance that we all have to express our gifts, whatever they are. And so I guess the point of this channeling, I think, is to learn how to accept the gifts that are coming in, no matter how like wacky they feel, or how just sort of bananas they are. We're bringing new paradigms in, like new paradigms. So things that have never been seen. So you can't frame what you're bringing in based on what you've seen in the past, because it's all new. People haven't seen it really before. So it's really important to just figure out what resonates with you and then go that way. And I think if you do that, you're going to find yourself in a pretty good aligned place. And I think the path will just open for you like magic. So I hope that helped. Again, if you like it, please consider sharing with other people if you think it will resonate with them. Try to get the work out there if you'd like to. I appreciate all your faces, sending love and light and all those good things, and hope to see you again. Take care.